But we'll just start by thanking all of you for honoring us, and we're grateful that you also honored us as a team, because that's how we work as a team. And that team is our staff, that team is our families, that team is our district office, and Acknowledge Alliance is a big part of our team. So we're just going to share with you, each of us, a little bit about how Acknowledge Alliance has impacted our site. And I'll start just by giving a little overview as to how we were connected with Acknowledge Alliance in the first place. And it started about 8 years ago. I think it was in my second year as principal at Columbia. And we were struggling a little bit as a staff, trying to figure out how to get our students where we wanted them to be academically. And also struggling with some behaviors with some of our students as well. So as part of this journey, we were collecting some data. We gave a survey on developmental assets of our students. And I remember one of the pieces of data that we shared with the staff was one of the questions they asked is, how many of you think, or do you have a caring adult on campus that you feel like you can speak with? Or is there an adult on campus that cares about you? And only 30% of our students felt like they had an adult on campus that cared about them. And I remember sharing that with the staff, and it was like a punch to the gut, because here was a staff who was very dedicated. They aren't in this profession for the money. So they entered this profession and chose our school because they were dedicated to serving students. And in particular, our school has students with a lot of needs, whether it be academic, behavioral, or social emotional. And so we recognized that there was some sort of disconnect there. There was something that we couldn't put our finger on as to why our students didn't know that we cared about them, why they didn't feel like they could talk to us. And so part of answering that question was in consulting Acknowledge Alliance and bringing Acknowledge Alliance in to help us figure this problem out. But we had our own resiliency issues in terms of now we had some students that clearly felt defeated. Now we had some teachers who also felt defeated, who felt like they were putting their heart and soul into this profession and it wasn't making a difference. So this is where the journey began. We've gotten to experience the menu of what Acknowledge Alliance offers us, including working with them around professional development to help us connect with our students by working with us on professional development around exploring our own cultural and racial, our own identities and how that connects or doesn't connect with students, on running focus groups with students to hear what they have to say and what their experiences have been at our school, on looking at providing our students with the Project Resilience curriculum, which is helping students explore their own self-management, relationship skills, providing them with the tools to communicate about what their needs are and to manage their emotions. And one of the biggest strengths that we have had in our partnership is our partnership with Jean, who's been our resiliency consultant for, I think 8 years now, 7 years. And I think what's unique about Acknowledge Alliance is we've heard a lot in recent years about social emotional learning and the whole child. And that's something that, was a lens that we needed to expand at our school, is looking at the whole child, not just their academic scores, not just the number of discipline referrals, but also the social emotional needs and looking at the whole child. But what's unique about Acknowledge Alliance is they also look at the whole adult and recognize that the whole adult is important to reach the whole child. And so that's where the bulk of our work has been with Acknowledge Alliance, is in reaching the whole adult and making sure that we value what the adult and their resilience means to the students who are in our school. So in working with our students, we work with a lot of students who've experienced trauma, in addition to just the regular chaos that is being a middle school student. They're just on a normal day, the different decisions that they're making, what they're seeing on social media, all of those kinds of things is difficult enough, but then you add issues of poverty, you add some trauma, which could include loss or abuse or those kinds of things. And this is where we learn about vicarious trauma and how these are the things that the adults on our campuses are taking on and walking away with. And having Jean on our campus and having support of Acknowledge Alliance not only communicates to our staff that we know and understand what you're going through and what you're taking on a daily basis, but also helping to provide us as a staff with the tools to persevere in the face of what can often be disappointment, or to persevere in the case of some soul-crushing, sometimes stories that are shared with us by our students, to be resilient in the face of failure, because we experience failure on a pretty regular basis. And And that's part of the job. But what Jean does for us is helps us reframe what we see and do in terms of what are our successes. We talk about having an asset lens for our students, and she helps us have an asset lens for ourselves so that we can continue doing the hard work of helping students be their best selves. And that's where I feel like we've really, where Acknowledge Alliance is a really special organization because of that focus and that value on the adults that are helping to serve the students so that we can serve both the whole child and the whole adult. And the impact that it's had on our community and our culture is something that I'm going to turn it over to these two to share a little bit about their experiences.
Good evening, my name is Esteban Ybarra, assistant principal at Columbia. It's my 6th year. The question earlier was, who was your favorite teacher? My favorite teachers are over on the left over here, so thank you. And obviously my wife too, she's a teacher as well, so thank you for being here. Mary Beth, I think, took everything that I wanted to say. I'm kidding. No, but when I think of Jean, I remember, she probably doesn't remember this, but I remember the first time we actually sat in on a Wednesday, and there was like just this, and I was overwhelmed. It was my first year there. I taught elementary for a long time. So when I got to middle school, one of the things I said is like, I'll never teach middle school and I'll never be a principal, right? I'm doing both. But the first conversation we had was just about the loudness of a middle school. I came from elementary school where kids are playing, the bell rings, they line up. My first couple of weeks at the middle school, it was just loud. It was like, is there a fight down the hallway? Like, there must be a lot of fights on campus. And I was just overwhelmed. We met, we talked, and you're like, no, Esteban, you're doing fine. These are the assets that you have. So she's always been a person that we've checked in on, like every Wednesday we'll check in, whether it's about the commute or personal issues or school, whatever it is. But you've always looked at my assets as strengths. So I really appreciate that about you, So couldn't do the job obviously without Jean, the great staff members that we have. Cabinet back there, thank you guys for just having the support system. When I say support system, it's everybody in here because we all do this together. So the corazón, Jean, thank you so much.
2 tough acts to follow, right? So I'm Daniel Aguilar. This is my 8th year. And I've been blessed to be working at Columbia Middle School with such a great staff. I've been blessed to work in such a great district that really supports us in many ways. I've never heard of a resiliency coach, right? I talk about how overcoming poverty as a young man and leaving the Central Valley from the fields, right? I come from the fields, working in the fields with my parents. To be here today, I would have never thought it, to be honest with you. And it's something about being at our Northside School here in Sunnyvale, where we know we give a lot to our kids. We give our hearts and souls to our students. And sometimes when life hits us, we all know when life hits us, right? We don't know how to take care of ourselves. And it affects us in such a way. And I remember this very specific, and I'm gonna get a little personal here, a very specific time where I had lost my mother. 3 weeks later, my daughter was born. 2 weeks after that, my dad was actually kidnapped in Mexico. And I had a mental breakdown while I was at school. And Jean, my compadre, Mary Beth, Gladys, they were all there for me during that time. Not many people know this. There's very few that know this. But I was glad to have her there. And I was glad to have the people around me that supported me, that loved me, and it's genuine love. And I think that's the part that Acknowledge Alliance brings. It's not just a program working with our kids. They really care about our kids. They care about the adults on campus. Because we love and give so much that sometimes we don't take care of ourselves. We take care of everybody else and we forget. Sometimes our wives, our families don't get to feel that because we come home drained. But thanks to the resiliency work that's there, I know leave it at home and continue moving forward and coming each day knowing that it's a blessing, that we're there to not only support staff, but more importantly to support our kids. So I'm very thankful for the opportunity. I'm truly blessed and honored to be honored here tonight. Thank you so much.
So we wanted to give a little footnote to the story, which is to say that through the work with our staff, through the work with Acknowledge Alliance, through the support of our district, and the support of many of you in this room who've made it possible for us to have this partnership, our culture on our campus has transformed. It's an amazing place to work for students and staff. And the last time we gave the survey about how many of students believe that there were caring adults on campus, it was 95%. again, thank you to all of you who've helped to make this possible, and thanks to our staff, families, friends, district, for all your support. Because of you, we believe that not only do we have a great place for our adults to be, but a great place for students to be as well, and that's our ultimate goal. So thank you so much.